You're listening to Heroes in the Moment.
What's up, heroes? I'm Michael.
It's your boy Nathan.
And today, Miss Marvel.
Episodes 1 and 2.
1 and 2.
1 and 2.
So we're super excited to talk about this brand new character introduced into the MCU, bringing us a new light and a new version, kind of like a female Spider-Man, but still. So far, the show is actually pretty solid, surprisingly. What do you think?
Yeah. So I'm going to just start off the entire season by saying this. So hear me out when I say this. I think this is a well-made show.
Right.
It's creative. It's innovative. The use of emojis, of the music. It's creative to what Disney Plus has brought in the Marvel Universe.
Right.
And I think it's a well-made show. With that being said, it doesn't appeal to, I believe, older fans like me.
Right.
Obviously, I like some of the more mature adult stuff. But I don't hate it. But it's certainly not my cup of tea. But I do think it's a well-made show.
Right, I agree. I mean, yeah, we are for sure not really the audience for this show because I feel like this show is more pointed towards like kid demographic,
teenagers, I say, especially towards females,
women.
I feel, yeah.
I mean, I feel like that's definitely who the audience they're aiming for. But you know, even though we're not in that audience, I do have to appreciate how this show's been done so far. Yeah, because it has been executed pretty well.
I mean, it hurts me to say it too, but these first 2 episodes have flowed better and were written better than, I mean, a couple of the Disney Plus first 2 episodes. Like Falcon and Winter Soldier, the first 2 were kind of like rocky.
Right.
This one flows.
Right, this one does. And it's connecting really well. And it's definitely like, I love the ideas of it's definitely a coming of age story, family life. Yeah. It's a lot like Pixar. It's actually extremely weirdly a lot like Pixar's Turning Red. Because it's literally like the same plot.
Really?
Like literally
at
the same time. Like Red. Mother who has previous abilities, who knows about something. Girl who gets abilities from the same thing about her mother. Struggles of the family life of strict parents and wanting to rebel.
Yeah.
Same thing.
And that's a stereotype you see a lot in Hollywood.
It is. But this is a lot better than Turning Red, I will say. So far, anyway. But also another thing that I really like about the show is it's very MCU. Like I feel like I'm definitely in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You know, comparingly to Moon Knight, when you feel like it's different,
it's completely separate.
It's definitely separate. But this definitely feels very MCU, and she's a definite character that I can see being and interacting with a lot of the other characters. So I think that's pretty cool to see.
Well, see, I have a hard time too because she's so young in comparison to the others. So it almost seems like she's too young to do, I guess, with the older.
But that's the whole purpose of getting it across, is they want to see this young girl who looks up to all these superheroes, and then when she interacts to him, she's just a fangirl the whole time. Yeah, which I think
they've done a great job.
I
mean, you see a huge love for Captain Marvel, like straight from the start of the episode. And her cosplay is her,
a love for like just characters and superheroes, Avengers and stuff like that.
It's a big fan.
Very similar to the Avengers game from a couple years ago. Very, very similar. Like, you know, the idea of her powers going to this Avengers Con thing, and then of course later with all her learning how to use her powers and abilities and stuff like that. It's very similar to that.
That was my first introduction there actually through that game. That game sucks, by the way. But
it's not a good game.
But she's cool in it.
But she is cool. So I really think, and I think the casting was absolutely perfect for the role. And this being Iman Vellani's first ever acting gig ever, really, she's killing it. So I think that's pretty cool. She is doing a very good job, and she's a Marvel fan in real life. So I really think it's really a good idea to have casted an actual
Marvel fan
who knows what she's talking about and is a fan of the character. Because it actually it was funny because she actually cosplayed as Miss Marvel in real life like 5 years ago. So that's really before even.
And now she's cosplaying her.
She is legit
Marvel.
Miss Marvel. So that is awesome to know. So it is very, very cool to see that. And I think episode 1's done a really good job with the family life and the family vibes. Of course, we got the strict parents, more so the mom and a brother life, and then her wanting to rebel and going to Avengers Con and stuff. Yeah. Typical teenage stuff, but at the same time, it's like it works in the show.
Yeah, I agree.
I appreciate that. And then, of course, we have a best friend, Bruno, who secretly, of course, has a crush on her. I actually like Bruno quite a bit.
I like Bruno a lot, too. He's your standard, jealous, talented side character that you think's not going to get with her, but probably does in the end.
Probably does get with her in the end, for sure.
He's talented. He's good with tech.
Right, it does. And that's one thing. A lot of people have been saying it's a lot like the Disney Channel, like, you know, shows and stuff like that, which I can see those, but it definitely feels a lot more like a show, you know, you would typically watch instead of
I feel like Netflix.
It feels like it has a Netflix vibe, and it has a lot better vibe. I can definitely tell like why it's PG and all that kind of stuff, but at the same time, it's PG. Yeah,
Miss Marvel is.
Miss Marvel's
it's
PG.
It's not even PG-13.
No, it's PG.
No way, it's PG.
It's
For
PG.
real? Oh,
yeah. So I can see that, but it definitely has a lot of the stereotypes, but I feel like it does it in a good way, if that makes sense. So I mean, obviously, to us, it's more of like a decent show. Okay, it's all right.
Yeah.
It's not our audience, but for a lot of other people and for like critics especially, I'm sure the show's just like probably amazing.
Yeah, and I do think this would be a very good starter show for the MCU. And they might be, trying to pull for that idea too. But if you have these younger fans and they don't know too much about it, I feel like this might be a really good way because they'd be able to relate to the character because she's a big fan of these bigger characters and they'd be also learn about them through her, so they could kind of relate to her. Yeah, so it might be a good start.
That's true, and I appreciate because I feel like this character in particular is a character that is deserving of a show like this. I mean, she's not someone that's deserving of her own movie, but a show fits perfectly for her character. So I really appreciate that. And of course, we know we're going to see her in the Marvels, which is cool as well. So
I think she'll be a good fit.
She'll be a good fit in the Marvels with along with Monica Rambeau and then of course Brie Larson's Carol Danvers. Which, do we think Carol Danvers will still make an appearance in this show? I'm starting to feel like, maybe not.
I don't think so.
I don't know. Maybe Monica Rambeau, though. I feel like Monica Rambeau makes sense.
Maybe. Every time I theorize about possible cameos in Disney Plus episodes, they never happen. I just need to stop.
That's true.
I keep on jinxing myself.
That is true. You got to stop. All right. But, of course, and then she puts on this bangle and goes to Avengers Con. And we see her powers finally develop. And the one thing about her powers, the powers are actually kind of cool. But I still don't really like the fact that they're going completely astray from her comics, counterpart. I think, it's comic accurate in the sense of her character, but it's not comic accurate in the sense of her powers, which doesn't really make sense. So I don't know about that.
Personally, I would rather have the writers just stick with the original plan. I know they're trying to avoid similarities with Fantastic Four, and they want to, try to make it more similar to the other Marvels. Right. But at the same time, like, I don't know how often Mr. Fantastic and Miss Marvel would be interacting with the same group and even having the same powers.
And they did already introduce spoilers for Multiverse of Madness. They did already introduce, Mr. Fantastic in the MCU in a way. Yeah. So like they've already introduced him before her. So it's like, they could have done it still.
Her powers are cool, and what they've done with it is awesome, I think. And I like the visuals. But I would just rather they keep her, like, stretchy and big. Right. When I look at her, I kind of see, like, like the one girl from Multiverse of Madness.
America Chavez?
Yeah, America Chavez with, like, the whole, like, jumping on the portals. And, like, the visuals, they look very similar. So, I don't know. I wish she would just be stretchy.
Right. I think it'd be really, really cool. And I think that is a good analogy. She is a lot like America Chavez. Not near as powerful, but still super cool. So that pretty much, that pretty much represents episode 1. Not a huge lot happened. I mean, the end credit scene, we will say, it did introduce us the damage control guy from Spider-Man No Way Home, of course. Who
Dude, I missed it my first time. I didn't even know there was.
He was funny in Spider-Man No Way Home because he was interviewing, of course, Ned and manipulating Ned. And he does the same thing in episode 2.
So what you're saying is that
you were Spider-Man's main conspirator.
Yeah.
And he was like, no. I want this stricken from the record. Gotta love Ned. Ned and Paul Rudd, those are the two
facts
right
bro.
there.
Just give them their own movie.
Love them. And they keep referencing Paul Rudd in this show.
I know.
Like
even with the podcast in episode 1 and episode 2 with looking younger than he actually is. Yep. Do you know she has to be a Paul Rudd fan?
She got to be a Paul Rudd fan. Who's not a Paul Rudd fan? Sexiest man alive. Got to bring up Paul Rudd. Okay, that was it for episode 1. I don't have anything else to add. Do you have anything?
Nothing much. It's pretty cut and dry, and I thought it was a good introduction to the character.
It was. All right, now we got episode 2. Episode 2. I think episode 1 was probably a little bit better than this one, but I still think this one was pretty decent. It was very stereotypical high school, if that makes sense. High school drama, high school parties. Is very.
I can't relate because I was homeschooled.
You were homeschooled.
She was walking through the halls. I looked at Mike. I was like, "Is that what high school is like?" He's like, "Nah, it ain't. That's glorified."
Yeah, for sure. Thanks. Not quite like that, but it is very stereotype. It's got those stereotypes there. You got the popular girls. You have the new boy. Yeah. You have all of this stuff. Very stereotype. The not populars. All this stuff. Very, very, very stereotypical, but not in a bad way. To be honest, it wasn't executed in a bad way. It was executed in. They're actually making fun of it on purpose way.
And no, we talked about that while we were watching it. I was like, dude, this is like kind of cheesy. Like, and you're like, I think that's what they're meaning to do. They're showing it through the eyes of these teenagers, which obviously is gonna be cheesy, like what they're going through. But we're looking back and seeing it as adults, like, okay, they're just going through it.
I do think that they're trying to be cheesy, and I think when you try to be cheesy, it works a little bit better than not meaning to be cheesy.
Yeah, that was just terrible.
Then it's just bad. But Miss Marvel, like, when you're seeing it through her eyes, a teenage girl eyes who's a junior in high school, it's gonna be like that. It's gonna be all the flashing colors, the new boy at school, ooh, even though it turns out to be his cousin or something.
Alabama
pulling a Star Wars right there, man.
Oh my gosh. No, she's doing a whole musical number by herself after she's just met this dude who later we find out might be related. That part was a little odd, I gotta say.
Do you not go home and just like sing when you're home alone?
No.
Like, I feel like everybody does that.
When I first met my girlfriend, I didn't go home and just start singing this musical number. Oh my gosh.
Anyway, it was also cool to see her explore her powers and try to like do a training montage of her learning how to do it with Bruno. I keep wanting to say we don't talk about Bruno, but anyway. Yeah. Go away from that. But she, of course, it's cool to see her powers and explore. Of course, we know that she can step on stuff in air. Yeah. She can throw out a hand, but she doesn't have super strength. We learned that.
Yeah, it's all like very diamond looking.
They're diamond.
And it shatters too, right, from the first episode. So I'm wondering like what that's made out of.
I don't know. And of course, it's very cosmic, as we see. So I feel like Monica Rambeau and Captain Marvel, that's a big reason that they will come in to help her try to use her powers. But the one thing I also don't like is the fact that her powers just come from this band. It just kind of undermines her ability, if that makes sense, because that's all her powers is.
I think in additional, like, they're trying so hard to steer her away from Mr. Fantastic and close to the Marvels, but they forgot about Shang-Chi.
Right.
Who also, obviously, we know who can fight, but his powers come from those rings, too.
And that works.
How is that different?
And
that works with this character,
but this doesn't.
That's from the comics.
Right. It works with that character. And, like, Iron Man, another person who, uses his suit, that works. And, like, Hawkeye, he has that bow and arrow, that works. But this, just putting on, that's her whole gig. That's all she can do. Yeah. It's just like, it doesn't work.
She offers like nothing else.
She doesn't offer anything else. Cause like, Iron Man, he offers his brain.
He's a genius.
He's a genius. You have Shang-Chi. He has excellent martial arts skills. Yeah. So with this, it doesn't make near as much sense. And that's why I feel like it's also a mistake not to go with her original powers.
I know. And all you have to do if you're a bad guy is just like cut off her hand and you'll be fine.
Unless they reveal that this band just enhances what's already within her.
Well, I think they mentioned that too, because when Bruno was doing scans on her, he's like, the power is coming from like within you, like basically like she's unlocking the power of it. So no one, it's not like anybody could use it.
So maybe eventually she'll be able to like
use
not
it without
use the bands and just
and I think that would be a better transition.
I do.
Throughout the show, she learns it, and then she finds out
which
now the true power is within myself.
Right. All the pictures of her in her future comic accurate costume that we know we're gonna get, I don't see a band on there, if I can remember.
So unless they CGI'd it out. Jump starts her, unlocks it, and then she figures it out.
I think that would be better than just that being, that's her powers.
The whole time, because I don't want to see her and Shang-Chi both be wearing rings the whole time.
Exactly. So I think that would be a little bit better than that. So, and then of course we got the damage control people going after her throughout this series, and you mentioned like why, and I mentioned of course because of the Sokovia Accords, anybody with any type of power needs to be registered. So they're going after her for those reasons.
Rather aggressive, going after like a 16-year-old
He was super
girl.
Aggressive. And he manipulated the girl the same way he did Ned. It was so funny. She was like, "Oh, I'm a fan."
I'm a fan.
Oh, he's funny. Anyway, so we have that going on, and then of course, I think it'd be kind of cool, with all these references of her, the damage control people going after her. I think it'd be kind of cool if in like one episode of She-Hulk, like after Miss Marvel ends, and then you have like her getting captured or something, you have an episode of She-Hulk to where She-Hulk's representing Miss Marvel in a case or something.
Yeah,
that'd be kind of
cool. With the damage control. That would be dope.
It'd be kind of interesting. I don't think they'll do that.
With that show, you can bring in any hero, whoever gets
you can do
any type of legal trouble.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see. But that might be cool. So, And then of course we see Kamala meet this boy.
Kamran, I think is his name.
I can't remember his name, but he's British.
British.
Fascinatingly enough.
He drives like a $50,000 car.
He does.
In high school.
He does. And also the other girl that's friends with her has, you mentioned, $1,000 pair of shoes. Like, geez, where do they live?
Versace. She's like, someone stole my Versace. Like, why are you wearing them to the mosque?
Do they live in Beverly Hills or do they live in like Jersey? Like, what?
I don't know, bro.
That was kind of crazy.
That was like, pretty funny.
I want some of that money, man. I got to renovate a house. I need some of
that.
Go to
that high school.
Go to that. Yeah, for sure. Get some of them shoes. All right, anyway. But that pretty much covers that section of course, the using her powers, and the boy comes in, and then we see later in this like I don't know what was it, like a party, was it? I can't. What was the party about? Like the
it was celebrating the fragility of life.
The fragility
of life. So of course you gotta celebrate by just throwing a complete banger. Right,
I guess. So we see the young boy who falls down, and then of course, Miss Marvel, Nightlight, forgive me.
Nightlight.
Nightlight go after her. That's what that named her. Nightlight go after him. And of course, she's still not used her powers yet. So she's trying to save him in a really comedic way. And
what's your favorite food?
What's your
ice cream?
You do have
pizza.
to keep him calm.
Like a favorite one. Like, no, I put my ice cream on my pizza. And the guy goes, did she just say ice cream on pizza? I was like, bro, what is happening? He's about to die. Stop talking about your favorite food.
Favorite foods. But she uses her powers and she kind of saves him. She successfully does. Everybody's cheering.
Yeah.
And then she loses balance by seeing a vision of someone. And then she drops him in a real comedic way.
Him.
And
he's
then
just falling.
She keeps trying to help him, and he falls on the mat.
Diagonal ones,
smack until he falls on the car. But he lives, so that's fine.
I thought at first, I will say, one thing that struck me about odd in the scene is you saw all the positive reactions instantly.
Right.
But that was right before he fell. So they wouldn't have time to put out. They're like, oh my goodness, he saved her. And then a second later he falls.
Maybe that's what was going on in her head when she was hearing all the cheering, like these headlines.
Like, that's what's going to happen.
This is going to happen to me. And then, of course, it fails.
But I did like that her first attempt at rescuing somebody wasn't like perfect. Because you see that a lot. Oh, the first time, bam, I'm a superhero now. Like, she drops him, he falls, she still saves him, but like, he still lands on the car.
Right, yeah, and still gets slapped.
It was realistic.
It was, and I do appreciate that. So, and then of course, in the end of the episode, we see the boy pulls up and he rescues her from running away.
Yeah.
And at first we're like, what's he doing there? And then we're like, oh, we have this chick in the back seat who we don't really know who she is.
She looks like Willem Dafoe. She looks like a female version of him. Like, she could play the Joker.
She could play the Joker.
She's his mom, but she's a person she's been seen.
She's a person she's
like,
been
why?
Seeing. So I wonder if she's like her aunt, probably, who used the bands before or something like that. They may not actually be related and may not actually be cousins.
Yeah, maybe we're just tripping.
But if they're cousins, man, Marvel.
Bro!
Come on, bro. Anyway, that's how the episode ended. So, both episodes of Miss Marvel are actually pretty good and consistent. So I'm actually kind of looking forward to what's next, and hopefully it remains as consistent.
Yeah.
Hey, even though we're not the audience.
Give us some cameos.
I feel like this episode, this show in particular, would benefit the most from compared to the other MCU shows from cameos. So,
with how connected it is,
right? So I feel like it needs it. So we'll see. We'll see for sure.
Ooh. All right, guys. If you enjoyed this episode, let us know by giving us a review and a download.
We need it.
We appreciate the support, guys. So thank y'all for listening. Announcement time. We got Obi-Wan episode 4 and 5. Coming out Saturday morning.
Yes, sir.
So stay tuned. It's a banger. Episode 5 was bonkers. So listen, and we'll break it down for y'all.
Yes, and we just want to appreciate y'all for listening. And as always, we love you 3000.